Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar, Functionality and Dynamics GP, mirrored to Dynamics 365 Business Central, today talking about accounts payable. My name is Katie, and I will be the facilitator today. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question area in the control panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and we'll answer questions at the end. This session will be recorded as well as posted on our blog and shared with you early next week. Now, I would like to introduce our presenter today, Don McNulty, who is a solutions architect here at Encore. Don, I will pass it over to you.
Thanks, Katie. Well, good morning, everyone. So today I'm going to talk about GP compared to Business Central. So basically what we're going to do is some very basic functionality that we all use all the time for those in the accounts payable world. We're going to look at some vendors. We're going to add some vendors and talk about some posting groups, which would be the same as the distributions in GP. We'll also show some of the features that are attached to Business Central that are not in Great Plains, so you get an idea of some of the things that you can gain. Then we'll talk a little bit about entering transactions. Mostly we're going to concentrate on putting in vouchers, which is putting in the invoices so that they're ready to pay. I'll then generate 2 check runs, one on each side using the select checks. And then we can take a look at some of the reports, but mostly it's about entering the transactions. So that's kind of the agenda for today. So that's what we're heading to. So let's talk about accounts payable. So for our vendors, inside GP, we have it is a screen-based system. So we have a screen that looks like this and we fill it in and then we go to other ones inside here. I'm going to use Ace Travel. And just so that you know, this is Fabricam. This is the test company inside GP. I have migrated this directly across into Business Central already, so that when I go into Business Central, I'll be using exactly the same vendor with the same information as it was copied across as part of a migration. So inside here, we've got our names, addresses, and things like that, which is what we expect to see that. This is all the things that we're looking at inside here. When we click down here, we go to the addresses down here, we have a remit address, and inside here we have our EFT. This is where we would put our banking information so that we've got another screen. And you'll notice here that I've now got 3 screens open, like so. And that's the way that GP operates. So we can put our banking information in there. I don't have any banking information set up, but that's okay. So inside here, so I've got different addresses as well. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the accounts, because underneath each vendor, we have a number of accounts that we need to keep track of. These accounts are stored against the vendor, and when certain transactions occur, we hit these different accounts. For instance, the accounts payable control account is the most important one. Terms discounts taken, if I take terms discounts, 2%, 10, net 30, etc., I can put them directly into here. I then have a purchase price variance at the bottom and a few other minor details inside here. So this is where we set the GL codes for each vendor in Great Plains. So now let's go take a look at the same kind of piece, except that in Business Central. So inside Business Central, when we click on vendors, we get a list of all of our vendors. So it's not just not a blank screen. We get to pick which one we want. We're going to use the same one, Ace Travel. And just by clicking it, it opens up the vendor page. And the vendor page has got a number of different pieces in it. So it's got a bunch of things as well as a bunch of different areas. So inside here, we got our name and address. Down inside here, we got our name, what kind of stuff that we need for inside here, purchaser codes and things like that, company size and sustainability and some inventory in there. So this is kind of the standard one. Now, you'll notice that we've got Ace Travel 0001. In Business Central, everything can be looked up by using the name, so you don't really need to do that, and you can use the auto numbering system for your vendors so you don't get duplicate vendors. And you very rarely use the vendor number like you do in GP, but in Business Central, you just tend to type in what you know about it and it finds it. Underneath your addresses, this is your standard core address. Inside here, contact information, your contact codes. There is a mini CRM inside Business Central, which allows you to keep contacts by vendors and contacts by customers so that you can maintain a list of multiple people attached to a single single person. I've got the single contact inside here. Under your invoicing, we have different pieces of information in here. Now, under the invoicing, we have two posting groups. We have the general posting group and the vendor posting group. These posting groups are where we get our general ledger accounts. So unlike GP, where it's attached directly to the vendor, it's attached through what they call a posting group. So if I was to go into one of these, and I was to click on the down arrow here, come on, and I go show details, it comes up like this. You'll see there's a payables account. But if I show more, what you get is those other discount accounts, things like discount taken, tolerance discounts, tolerance credits, payables account, service charges, debit for rounding. If you happen to have multi-currency, you could have rounding and things like that. So you've got a large, and this is set by the vendor. So this, in the case of GP, is like a vendor class. So we can put these, this is a vendor class in Fabricam, and this is the information that's on that vendor class. So that's how we can get those particular pieces inside there. We'll go back to here, and we'll click on here. And then underneath your general posting group, we end up with this. And then from inside here, we can click on Setup. And this becomes a list of all the different accounts that we can assign to it. So where am I here? There it is there. So I've got my sales information. I've got my purchasing information. And this is where some of the purchased invoice discounts and things like that are stored. And then I've got my cost of goods and I've got my inventory accounts. So this is kind of like a very large global posting accounts. And it's set, but you can have different, a number of them. Instead of only having one set, which we have in GP, we have multiple sets. And this one I've got set to GP because it got these particular entries from the GP database. Okay, so that's how we set our GL codes, and so that things will operate correctly. As I scroll down, I also have receiving. This is something that we don't have inside GP, and that allows me to specify when I issue a purchase order, where should it be delivered. So if I have a vendor who I purchase from across a country, so let's assume that we've got Vancouver and New York, I could put in Vancouver for the Vancouver person and the New York address for a different vendor that maybe sells the same part. So we know exactly where it goes. We know that we never buy from the Vancouver vendor out of New York. We never buy from the New York vendor in Vancouver because it's too far to ship it. Okay, so that's fine. Your terms, codes, and things like that, these are all very standard pieces of information. There is a check date format, which we can set so that you can use your MMDDYY, which gives you your segmentation, especially in the Canadian checks and things like that, and whether you've got a date separator as to what it is that you want. You want blank, dash, slash, or whatever it happens to be. So you can put that piece of information on the check so that it matches your check specification. So other things that are of interest that people that are notable. So inside here we got a lot of different pieces that we can add to it. We can keep track of item references, subscription contracts, and things like that. So we have a large number of things inside here. The dimension is where we can assign this to a dimension code. So you may have a New York, for instance, you may have a New York dimension called location, and you may decide to send it from there so that your dimension would be attached to it. Now, one of the other things that we do not have inside GP is vendor pricing. We have vendor pricing inside Business Central. So if I was to look at pricing inside here, I've set one up for the Access 2 year. I can say that it's $55.55 if I buy it from this vendor. And I can have a different price for each vendor, and that's the price that will default onto a purchase order if I'm issuing the purchase order. So quite powerful from that way, and you can keep a whole list, and you can import from into that list using Edit in Excel. So your balances and things like that, you've got your open entries and all kinds of different pieces of information inside here. So we've got different pieces that we can do from there. Underneath your reports, we have a number of different pieces inside here. We have vendor balances and things like that. We also, underneath related, we have order addresses. So this is where our purchase order goes. This is where our remit goes. And if I click on the remit addresses, I can open up the remit address. I've got one sitting here. And I can set this remit address with different pieces of information. And if I show more under communication, I have a home page as well that shows up. So underneath the related inside here, I can map it, and I can also make this approval or non-approval, so it will work through there. And I can use this as the default if I want. Okay. So you got places for remit addresses and all kinds of additional addresses. One difference that you will notice inside GP versus Business Central is that the address IDs and the address codes are only 10 characters inside Business Central, whereas they are 15 characters inside GP, which means that when we do the migration, we have to be careful on those ones that we don't truncate and lose any data on some of those. So we'll need some sort of manipulation on that. So, excuse me. And actions, other, where was it? Related. Oh, history, great. So underneath your history, you've got your entry statistics and statistics by currency. And I got my ledger entries. So when I click on my ledger entries, this shows me all of the transactions inside here that have happened against Ace Travel. Since I've pushed this across, I've put in these transactions inside here. You'll notice that in some cases the vendor ID and the description are the same thing. And you go, well, it would be nice if I'm looking this up and I'm trying to figure this out and I go, oh, well, I know this was for headsets. I want to change it. How can I do that after the fact? And the answer is yes. There is a function inside Business Central. When you click up here, you can open this in Excel and you can edit it in Excel. And when you edit it in Excel, you get the sheet that looks like this. So inside here, I'm going to just type in here, I'm going to type in headsets. Now, that change that I just made there is in the spreadsheet at this point. But you'll notice over here it says field description. So the description is there. If I click on this and it's the vendor name, it says the vendor name, but it's red. And that's because there's a lot of information on this sheet that you can't change. So for instance, all of these amounts, because they've been posted and put in your general ledger, you can't change them. So, but you can change some things, and this makes it quite powerful. So I've got headsets here, and I can type in, and I can copy that down a couple if I wanted to, so I can go like that. And then all I need to do here is hit the publish button. It'll publish it back out, 2 changes. There it goes. And when we go back to our sheet here, once I go back from here, just need to refresh the page. And it was other, related, history, other ledgers. So when it rereads it, you'll see the word headsets 3 times instead of once. There it is there, 1, 2, 3. So it's made that change for us. And you can do this on a whole bunch of different things. You can do this for your vendor names, your addresses. You can change your addresses on the fly by dumping out the whole vendor list and saying, I want to change my my short codes for my states and provinces to the two digits that they should be in case somebody has entered B.C. or B.C for British Columbia. They should be BC without a space. We can go in and make those changes globally and then push it through. Okay, so that's how we work on vendors. So that's the difference between the two on vendors. As I say, there's quite a few things inside here. One of the things that we've also got in all through Business Central is this request approval. And there's built-in workflows for approvals of vendors and for changes and things like that. You can send this through approval. You can send approval and cancel the approval. You can also, at the same time, you can also write Power Automate scripts. Business Central comes with fundamentally some of the Power Automate scripts, gives you a few thousand transactions a month that can be pushed through Power Automate without having to purchase additional licenses. And you can create approval workflows and automated workflows. And this works not only against the vendor card, but also against all transactions. So it's very easy to write workflows and things like that, which we tend to do after after a go live procedure. So I'm going to just head back into there. Now from here, I can see my balances and things like that. And this is a filter. I can also filter this list at any time by hitting the filter button. It opens up over here, and I can then edit this date. I can filter the list by, and if I hit the plus sign, it gives me a list of all the different fields. Very much like a smart list, except it's a standard list. It's what they call a list inside Business Central, but it allows you to kind of look at your different vendors, and you can just double click on the one that you're looking for, and you can sort by name and things like that. So let's talk next about, let me just close this like so. So the next thing is the transactions. So when we're going to do transactions, and I'm just going to talk about vouchers today. This is a standard voucher entry inside GP that we all have known and loved for years. I've been doing GP since 96, so it's been about 30 some odd, just about 30 years. So when I pop down through here, I grab a date, and I come into here and I grab my, and I know that I need to type in my Ace Travel. So I can do a lookup here. If I didn't know it, I'd go like this. I'd find Ace Travel. There it is there. And it fills in some information for me, so I don't have to worry about it. When I click onto the document, I'll go 987321 because I don't believe I've used that number before. And then I'm just going to put in $1,100. And I'm just going to leave it all in purchases just for the time being so that we can take a look at this. And then I'm going to click on distributions. And when I click on distributions, it automatically went to the vendor to grab this information. But I go, well, really, I don't want to put it all to 400. I want to put some to 265.20. And I'm going to put $600 in there. And then I'm going to pop down to the next line here, and I'm going to put 465.20 like so, and I'm going to put in my $500. So basically, I enter in my journal entry, and once I'm happy with my journal entry, it's all balanced and ready to go. And you could add your GST at the bottom, or you could have your breakout of your taxes, or you could have multiple line items, whatever is required. But I wanted to make a 3-line entry rather than a 2-line entry. So I can go OK. From there, transaction, that's weird. There we are. 200 has analytical accounting attached to it. I apologize for hitting that account. So there we are. We're going to use 300 instead. So I'm going to hit save. And I can save this. If I put it to a batch, I can save it. So I'm going to put it to a batch called test. And I'm going to hit save. And we're ready to go to the next transaction. Not a problem. And we would do the same thing again. And we could do a single line entry, or I could do a double line entry. So as I move through, that's how I enter my different transactions. So that's now ready to be posted at this point. So inside Business Central, when we look at this, what we can do is we can either do it directly from the vendor card. We can just click on the vendor card. We can just click on new document. Or we can go up to our purchasing inside here, and we can use purchase invoices. Now, purchase invoices are different than the voucher in that it allows us to put line items on it. So I'm going to use a purchase invoice and kind of show both sets because this is the one that most people use. So when I click on purchase invoice, there it is there, and I click on this. I'm going to edit this one that I've got inside here. There it is there. When I want to know a name, I just put in travel, like so. And it comes up with a list of all my travel. You'll see travel wherever it happens to be. I can pick my Ace Travel. If I know it's Ace Travel, I could just type in Ace Travel. There we are. And then I can show more here. So inside here, I have a list of all the files and information. And there's my invoice number, 987321. Same invoice number. There we are there. So now down at the bottom here, I've got different things inside here. Items. I can actually purchase items for inventory directly on this screen. I can put direct GL codes on this screen, and I can put other things on this screen. So when I click on my item type and I click on the down arrow, I get a number of choices. Oops. So I'm just going to do a GL code. So when I do that, as soon as I hit the GL code like so, when I go into my number, I can now put in my 6520. There it is there. What is this? This is This is just a little bit of travel expense. This is the piece that I changed on that distribution, so it won't say Ace Travel. There it is, their distribution comment. What site am I pushing this to? This could be there. When I click on this, on the quantity, I'm going to hit 1, and then I'm going to go $600, like so. Okay. Division code. My division code here is what I've got listed as my 200. So there's my 300. And then I can, if I scroll across here, I can add additional things. So I can add a line number excluding taxes. I can give it I got to give it a total cost here, so it's going to be 600. Unit of measure is each. There we are. So now I've got my $600. And then if I scroll down to the next line, you'll notice that it says 600 at the bottom. I then click on the GL code. And again, I can put in 6520. CEO travel. 1, 500. And 400 is where I put the other one. And I think I got the same combination. This too came from the north site. So in our case, what we had actually put it to was 00. And we put this one to 00. So you can put in, so this becomes your department code and your division code go with your GL code to make up the 3-digit chart of accounts. Now, if you've got 4 digits, you'd have 4 of these. These can be moved, very easily moved. So what we can do easily is that on any of these screens like this, we can go up to here and go personalize. And it brings up this, it changes this. And when I click on here, I can grab my division code. And I'm going to put it right here. And, oops, and come on. So the division code, and then I can just move this. Like so. And it will move across. For some reason, I'm not getting, my mouse seems to be a little bit jerky, so it's changing. So I'll just leave it as it's done. But the idea is that you can move it so it goes, so there's your division code so that you can put your codes 1, 2, 3. So you would key it exactly like you would key it in GP, 6520 300-00, and move forward from there. Once this is done, this is now ready. I can process this right now. I can post it, or I can escape out of here. It's automatically been saved at the top, right? So as a result of that, see it says saved up at the top corner here. It's been saved. I don't have to save it. It is now there. If I go back, like this, okay, has been saved but not posted. Do I want to exit? Yes. So now I still have that. I can then add as many as I like. I can then go through here and I can post multiple transactions at the same time. Up at the top here, there's a posting, there's a preview posting. If I hit the preview posting, it will come up with posting lines, the different lines, tax lines, posting to vendors, posting to the account. And it shows me my GL entry, which is my distribution. There you see the 500, the 600, 00, 400, 300, and then this one here is the 2100, which is the accounts payable control. So now in accounts payable control, most people stop using dimensions against the accounts payable control because it doesn't usually, it's a 00. So in the future, you'll probably have blank and blank, which is fine. Unlike GP, it does not require that those be filled in unless you've made it mandatory as part of your setup. So that's how we get those in. And once I've done the posting preview, I can click on this and I can hit post. It'll post it through. Do I want to post the invoice? Yes, I can. I can post it at the screen as well. Invoice has been moved. There it is. Do I want to open the posted invoice? I can say yes, and it will open up the thing. The big thing over here is that underneath your attachments, you have different attachments. You can attach documents here, same as you can use document attach. You have to be careful in Business Central because of size. but because it fills up the database, there is an 80 gig limit for the standard core price for Business Central. And buying additional disk space is not cheap. It's not. It's a few $100s a month in order to get it. So therefore, it's something a lot of people don't. They don't do it that way. There are much better ways of storing the documents as well. So inside here, under your invoice details, you've got all your invoice details down in here. When is it due? Expected receipt date, and then the shipping payment is information down here, which is where did it get shipped to. So we've got this kind of information, so we can post those. So the next thing on the list, we'll get rid of this, is selecting checks. So I'm just going to schedule a payment. I'm going to hit a build a payment batch inside GP. And I'm just going to build a payment batch for everybody. I don't have a batch yet. So I'm just going to type in test. I want to add the batch. Yes, I do. Same as you do right now. Check, Uptown Trust, that looks good. We hit tab. We're not going to use an option. We're just going to build a check batch for everything. We hit the build check batch. It goes through and builds one very big check batch. And what it's going to do inside here, it's going to take the batch total and it's going to bring in all the transactions that are required. Hopefully I've got some stuff outstanding. There we are. We have a $1.2 million worth. And now we can go into edit the payments and edit the payment batch. Now, one of the nice things about GP has been this build payment batch, the one that looks like this, that you get to see all these different things and say, oh, I don't want to pay Beaumont, and I don't want to pay Attractive, and I don't want to pay this, and I don't want to pay Burnett. So there we are there. That's fine. You can do that inside here. It's a little more difficult to do that in Business Central. This is one of the nicer screens inside GP. So we go, okay, so that's fine. So I've changed that. So that's how I create a check batch. Then, of course, as you know, inside here, we can go directly to the print payments. It will print those payments out. I can post those payments, and I can process remittance advices and generate EFT files. So basically, the standard functionality, you run screen to screen to screen. You just keep opening different screens, and they do different things. When I pop back to Business Central inside here, and I go into my cash management inside here, and I go into my payment pieces, where is it? Payment journals. So inside here, I can now create, I'm going to grab the check. It's attached to a bank account. So there it is there. And when I hit prepare, I can suggest vendor payments. And when I suggest vendor payments, I can come into here and I can grab different vendors. I'm just going to leave it blank, the same as the other one. And I'm just going to go like this and go OK. And it inserts all those payments. And there it is there. We go OK. So now we've got that same basic list. But what we've got is we've got these individual documents all the way down. And then I've got some payment things that I can do from there. So this is how I generate a check. If I want to get rid of any of these, I can go up to the top here and I can just click on this and go select more. And then I can say, well, let me see, I don't want to do these ones inside here. And then I go up to here and hit the, where to go? And then you can delete them from here. So we can move forward from there. So you can get rid of the different balances and things that you want inside here. I have the check listed on this very first one, the payment type, but I'd have to copy the check down. I haven't got that set up properly on all these different pieces. But the idea behind it is so that this will then become a payment. And you'll notice here that all these payments, 4001, 4002, these are different payments for each one. So the payment number is the document number and things like that. You then run your checks. Actions underneath here, you're posting in your workflow. You can create the workflow, of course. You have posting inside here, and you have the functions inside here. This is where you generate your EFT file if required. This is where you can set your bank, and you can send your bank out as well. You've got your checks inside here. You can print your checks, void your checks. This is the same as the print check and the print post. The print and post in GP is right here. It's on the same screen. There's your prepare. You can suggest employee payments and things like that. If you've got employees who have got got expense reports, you can itemize those as employees, so they'll select those instead of just the vendors. We use payment priorities and vendor classes for that inside GP. The print post is how do you post this, of course. Underneath the process, I can renumber, I can apply entries, I can show lines with issues. And then, of course, underneath the manage, I can hit the delete, and it'll delete that line. Go ahead and delete, go yes. And it'll delete the line. So that deletes the line. So that, there we are there. So that gets rid of the different pieces from there, and that provides us with a payment. Now, the last piece that I wanted to talk about was some of the reports that are available. So when I click on all reports up here, if I scroll down to my purchasing and I hit my Explore button here, there's a number of different purchasing inside here. We have budget and analysis, planning, costing, and things like that. There are trial balances and things like that. These are the analysis reports. So there's a number of them inside here, purchases per year. These are Power BI ones. And if I go all reports and go to my purchases down here, standard payables inside 10, and inside here we've got our incoming documents, journals, registers, and things like that. There's your setup, and then there's 18 reports inside here as well. So lots of different reports inside here. There's your trial balance, vendor trial balance, which would be something that you might want to take a look at. So inside here we can just go preview and close. Oh, I've got to put in a date. But the idea is that you get your standard reports the same way that you do inside GP, or 30, 60, 90, and things like that. I did go over a little on the timing, but I think that's all I needed to cover today. Are there any questions?
Great, thanks, Don. And again, if anybody does have any questions, please enter them into the question area in the control panel. We do have some upcoming sessions. Don will be doing an accounts receivable session at the end of May. I believe it's May 29th, as well as an inventory session on June 12th. So I will add the link to our events page in the chat if you'd like to register for those sessions, as well as check out past webinars. So that is in there. Also going to add a link where you can set some email preferences and opt into our emails so you can stay in the know about upcoming events as well as our latest blog articles. So those are both in there. And yes, the session was recorded. It will be sent out to you early next week as well as posted on our blog.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much for attending, and I hope that it gives you a better idea of what you're moving towards as you start to look at your migration away from Great Plains as it reaches its end of life. So
Great, thanks, Don. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day.